Well, good evening, folks. Welcome. We've got a full house tonight at the Smoky Mountain Gospel Jubilee. I'm your host, J.P. Miller. For the last 8 years, we've come to you from right here at the Ogle Furniture Outlet on Dolly Parton Parkway, the big red building up on the hill, to bring you some great gospel music, some surprises, a lot of fun, sometimes some very special moments, and tonight's going to be all that packed into one, I promise you that. Star LuLu Roman is here, and she has been on stage forever. And it's her birthday today, and we are excited. Yeah, happy birthday, Lulu. Lou's got a book, brand spanking new, that's just came out, and she has included us on her book tour. So we're certainly excited to hear all about her book and talk about her life and her career and how she found Jesus along the way. If you want information on that, you can simply go to her website, which is luluromanbook.com. My good buddy Jamie Lewis is here with me, and Jamie was instrumental in us having our show in the first place. About 8 years ago, Ron Ogle called me, wanted me to start a show, a radio show from the furniture store, and I thought, what a dumb idea. Who's going to come to a furniture store on a Monday and watch gospel singers sing? Well, you guys did. So you proved me wrong. We have had about 30,000 people in person come over the years and sit in these recliners. Now, we change out the recliners, okay, so we not the same recliner, but we've had about 30,000 folks come. We've done over 100 television shows, and I can't remember how many radio shows that we have done. A bunch. But Jamie's the one that set it up. We met with Ron and Betty Ogle. They wrote the check and said, hey, do something that benefits the community, do something that uplifts the name of Jesus, and we're good. And they let me do whatever I want to still. They're in Florida this week. They never take a vacation, so I hope nothing goes wrong because they're not here. So I want them to have a good vacation. Every year, Praise 96.3 has a big event, and they call it the Spring Living Celebration. And, Jamie, that event's coming up quick.
It's coming up on May 23rd. That's Thursday, just 2 weeks from this Thursday.
Yeah.
So it's coming up. It's coming at me like a big old freight train.
And this event is cool because it's kind of an all-day event. It's at the Knoxville Expo Center, again, on Thursday, May 23rd. And you've got gospel music all day long. It's only like $8 to come, but that includes your breakfast and lunch.
Coffee and
Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme donuts, and who doesn't love those? And we also will have lunch.
Yep.
Everything is all-inclusive. And this year we've got the Guardians coming to sing, Promised Land Quartet from Virginia. Or are they from Iowa? I don't know. They're all from somewhere else.
The Roarks.
The Roarks will be coming. J.P. Miller is going to be singing God Bless the USA because we're doing a patriotic program and a tribute to military and veterans.
And we've never done this before.
No,
all
this
the
is the
veterans
first
get
time.
in free at this event, and so this is going to be about the veterans in this event. We have Chris Emmert, who was here a few weeks ago.
She's awesome.
And she is going to be speaking, talking about her book, and then the Biblical Time Singers will be there as well. I've got a little silent auction tonight, but the silent auction that we do at this event is the biggest one I do all year. It like goes on for days, and people love it.
It's the whole length of the area where you first
the
walk
lobby,
in.
yeah.
The lobby. And we have a lot of fun there. We have about 35, 40 businesses that will be there, and you know how they always have like little free things.
Yeah, they give away stuff. They're also doing door prizes.
Door prizes.
It's a lot of fun.
Everything will be going on.
$8. So if you want to come, call the radio station 577-4885 to make reservations. You can bring a big group, or you can just come by yourself. It doesn't matter. But make sure you call and get reservations. It's going to be Thursday, May 23rd. It starts at 8:15 in the morning and runs till about 2 or 3.
About 2:30 or 3.
Yeah.
And I would encourage you to invite your Sunday school classes. We're doing something this year we've never done. If you have your senior group at church or Sunday school class and can bring 15 or more people, it's $5 each.
Okay.
So we want as many people to come. I want everyone to hear Chris's story. She's a Gold Star Navy widow. She lost her husband. The true sacrifice.
Yeah.
Went down at sea. And this is just going to be a great opportunity to hear great music eat great food, fellowship with people, meet a lot of new businesses, and JP will even be there.
That's right. It's so much fun. It's one of my favorite events.
No extra charge for JP.
It's one of my favorite events that I do all year long, and you all are invited to come and participate on that. Again, that's Thursday, May 23rd,
Yes.
starting at 8:15. It's going to be at the Knoxville Expo Center. So put that on your calendar. We hope you can get tickets. 865-577-4885. Jamie, thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Folks, give
Thanks,
Jamie Lewis a
everybody.
hand. She makes Praise
you, guys.
96.3 run, so we appreciate her. Hey, if you want your car washed and vacuumed in time for Mother's Day, this Saturday at Parkway Church of God from 10 to 2, that's right beside the furniture store, will be a car wash. They're selling hot dogs, chips, and drinks. It's to benefit a mission trip to Kenya. It's going to be, they're going to be building a bathroom and helping with children's ministry while they're in Kenya. So car wash and vacuum just in time for Mother's Day. My mom lives in West Virginia, or she would love that. This Saturday at Parkway Church of God from 10 to 2, donations only. So if you're going to give them $1, don't do it, you cheapskate, do it yourself. But we want to bless these folks this Saturday. It benefits their mission trip to Kenya, Africa, and they're going to do children's ministry and build some bathrooms there for a kids camp. We're fixing to have LuLu Roman sing. And folks, I know that you know this lady. That's why you've come. And she has literally been all over the world, and she's just a household name. And we're so blessed to have her tonight. Would you make her welcome, that Hee Haw star, LuLu Roman? Make her welcome.
Thank you.
To the Smoky Mountain Gospel Jubilee.
An orphan on God's highway, but I'll share my trouble if you go my way. I have no mother, no father, no sister, no brother. The ties of kinship, I have not known them. I've known no mother, no father, no sister, no brother. I am an orphan girl. Ever watched our little show called Hee Haw? Thank you. There was a fellow on there who played the harmonica. His name was Charlie McCoy, and that right there is him because he owed me a favor. And when he calls me, I will be able to meet my family at God's table. I'll meet my mother, my father, my sister, my brother. No more an orphan girl. Blessed Savior, make me willing, walk beside me till I'm with them. Be my mother, my father, my sister, my brother. I am an orphan girl. I am an orphan girl. Thank you. This was Roy Acup's favorite song. And I got to sing it with him on Hee Haw and on the Grand Ole Opry stage, too. It was neat. If you see a man in sandals, send him down my way, 'cause he might be my master. He's coming back someday. If you see a man in white that's like no one you've seen before, won't you let me know? 'Cause that's the man I'm looking for. And if you can remember, ask him what's his name. And if he tells you Jesus, just say, we're so glad you came. Tell him you know someone who still calls him Lord. Then send him on to me, 'cause that's the man I'm looking for. If you see a man that shines with a love glow on his face, hey, turn him down my street so he can find my place. And if his hands are scarred, no, please don't shut your door. You just send him on to me, 'cause that's the man I'm looking for. And if you can remember, ask him what's his name. And if he tells you Jesus, just say, we're so glad you came. Tell him you know someone who still calls him Lord. Then send him on to me, 'cause that's the man I'm looking for. If you see a man called Jesus, well, that's the man I'm looking for. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Lulu, have a seat for me.
All righty.
Here, I want to change mics with you.
Okay.
Put this one down. I want to lay this one down, Jack.
Okay.
So,
So,
I got to get settled a bit. So, I met Lulu when we did a bus trip to Maine.
yes.
A few years ago with our friend Tony Gore, and
Yep.
it was lots of fun.
It was.
One thing that happened was our buses are driving, and the bus in front of us was what you were on.
Yep.
A cloud of smoke burst out the back, like the engine was on fire.
It wasn't me.
It
It was not me.
Oh, I thought it was. Okay. The only thing our bus driver could see was just smoke, and that could have been a total disaster, you know, but thank God it wasn't. So we had to, we all got friendly real quick on that trip, but thank you so much for being with us
Thank you, honey.
tonight. Your story is pretty cool for everyone, but for me it's pretty neat because I worked at the Church of God Children's Home. I don't even know if you knew that, but
I didn't. Yeah.
I worked there for about 10 years, and I didn't even know what a children's home was growing up. I had never known anyone that was an orphan or foster. It was like something that I just saw on Annie on television.
Yep.
But that was a different experience for you.
Oh,
Tell me
yes,
how
it was.
Tell me how life started.
Well, life started for me when I was about probably 2 years old. I was dropped off in an orphan's home and just left. And so I had to spend my entire childhood in an orphan's home. So I never had any concept, y'all, of what a mother meant or what a father meant or what a family meant. I never had a
So you
room
have
of
no
my
memory
own.
before the orphanage, correct?
Nope.
Okay. So when you say they dropped you off, it was like you see on TV. It was like, boom, we're out of here.
I found out that it was my grandmother who took me and just left
Dropped
me.
you off.
Yep.
What age did you know, hey, this isn't normal?
I was probably about maybe 10 years old.
And you realized, hey, there's other people that have moms and dads. And
Well, I saw people come into the orphan's home, and they would talk about, they were with their mom and their dad. And I would say, what? Well, we lived with my mommy and daddy.
did you
We
know what
lived
that
with
meant?
the mommy and daddy. I didn't at first.
Yeah.
Had no idea. I didn't. And then, as kids would come and go, some of them had parents who actually worked in the orphan's home. So I got acquainted with that idea. But as far as trying to grab on and hang on to anything that was tied to a family or a situation where people were together and lived together, I had no idea what that meant.
And you saw other kids in the orphanage get adopted, right?
They were few and far between because this one, believe it or not, did not allow adoptions.
Okay.
They didn't. I think I saw some that were little babies that went out.
Yeah.
But generally, if you were put into the orphan's home, you stayed until someone came to take you out, or like me, you stayed until you graduated,
You grew
and
out
then
of
it
the
was
system.
get out.
Yeah. How were you treated by the staff?
That's a hard one. It is. There were people who genuinely loved children. There were. And on the other hand, there were people who needed a job or needed money. So there was two very distinct, different things going on in that orphan's home. It was hard to try to hang on to anything because in this place, it was a system, JP, it was. Okay? If you started like I did, I went in when I was just a baby, 2.5, I think I was. And you stayed in what was called the receiving home or the sunbeam home until you got to be 5 or 6 years old. We're going into the first grade. And then, see, they had buildings that were situated around this campus. And it was split in half, and the boys were on one side, and the girls were on the other. And every summer was a moving ordeal, okay? The seniors that were graduating, they left. The juniors that were going into the seniors' position, they went into the best place on the orphan's home as far as a place to live, which was a floor where you basically had either a room to yourself or a room with one person. Most of the time that I was there, I was in a room that had at least 6 girls in it.
Yeah. And
then it went down to 4 and then to 2 as you moved around and got prepared to leave. And it was an operation. It went on daily. It went on yearly. It was continuous.
So that's the life you knew as a child. From 2 or 3 years old, you were a part of that orphanage until you're 18 years old.
When I graduated, yep.
And in the system now, it's, they have some things in place where they try to transition into independent living, because we know you're not ready to
Yeah.
just leave when you're 18.
No.
But you didn't have that opportunity. They said,
I
okay,
didn't.
you're done. So
You
what,
graduated, and it was bye.
What-
You
what
got $50 in a suitcase, and out you went.
on that 18th day when you left, see, this is your birthday. So all those years ago, on that day, what'd you do? What
I
happened?
was a wild Indian.
Yeah.
I was on the warpath, y'all. I was. I had determined in my little spirit that nobody was ever going to tell me what to do again.
Because that's all you'd known.
See, I spent my whole life with people saying, "Thou shalt not."
Yeah.
And I thought, "Oh yeah, thou wilt, and thou wilt as many times as thou canst."
And you were ready to tear them
Oh
up.
yes, I was.
And you did.
I did.
Where'd you head?
I did. Well, they made sure all the girls got a job at the telephone company, okay? And then all the guys got jobs at the electrical,
Yeah.
where they did power
Yeah,
stuff.
the electric company.
Yeah. Yeah. So my first job was ring-a-dingy. A good friend, Lily Tomlin, is a good friend, so I have a great time playing with her.
So you set out, and you're working there.
Most of us, when we first left, we went together. Like I had a roommate.
Okay,
and
so
she
y'all
was
had an
one of my
apartment.
best friends,
Yeah.
and we got an apartment together. Yeah.
How was freedom?
Insane.
Because you've been living under someone's thumb.
And
I mean-
the first thing we did was we went to the grocery store and spent every dime we had on everything we wanted to eat, and then
That's
sat
right.
there and went, what do we do now?
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, we literally just went crazy.
So you're out there, you're 18, you're kind of just have no direction. You're just living.
Yeah.
No dream, I guess.
Nope.
Or no direction.
Never did.
How did you end up on a path to show business?
Well, I worked at the telephone company for about 2.5 years because my problem was that my bucket list consisted of several things, but one of them was that I wanted to learn how to cuss.
And you did.
I got that down real well. So much so that Ma Bell went, "Get out." So I kind of found myself on the streets. And there was a woman who worked at the telephone company who used to tell us all these stories of how she would go into these places, on the weekends and go in and see these people, perform and do stuff. And so we always thought we wanted to go find out what that was. So me and a couple of my friends who worked there went downtown and met her and went to see all she was talking about. Now, what I'm talking about here was the burlesque houses, okay, in Dallas, to which all of us were like,
Yeah.
and they had on Friday and Saturday night, they had something called amateur hour. And this was people who just get up and try to do a dance and remove their clothing. And I was, one of my friends had decided she wanted to go down there and do this, and she was a very pretty girl and ended up being a very famous, what they called exotic dancer. And I was sitting back there watching this. I thought, good night. I said, Lord have mercy, I could do better than that. And I heard a voice from behind me saying, "I'll bet you $50 you can't." Well, I turned on my wheels and I said, "I bet you $50 I can." And then I swallowed and thought, Lord have mercy, what have you done? Well, I was looking in the face of this older gentleman. His name was Pappy Dolson, and he booked all the Dallas-Fort Worth entertainment, shall we say.
In burlesque.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he said, "You got a week, little girl." And I thought, well, I'll just run out the door, and get out of here. Well, he grabbed me and said, "Okay, here's, blah, blah." And he gave me all these phone numbers and all that other stuff. And my friend who had gone with me did her little thing that night and won the thing hands down and became very, I just got stuck in the middle of it. Of course, I see now that God has a plan for everything, so I realize what that was now. But I ended up being what they call Dallas, Texas' biggest go-go girl.
She still has it. You still got some go-go in you.
And long story short, okay, we met a lot of entertainers working in these places, and I met a cowboy named Buck Owens. And Buck and I got to be good friends, and when he'd come to town, he would call and say, bring your girlfriends, come on down, you know, we'll take you to dinner, y'all come see the show, you know. So we always went, you know, and had dinner and had a good time with him. And through the years, you know, we just became friends. And then it was about probably 3 or 4 years later that one night the phone rang, and it was Buck, and he said, now just sit down and shut up and let me talk. I said, you think he knew me? And I said, all right. He said, okay. He said, there's some people. They put together a country and western type laugh-in. He said, they're going to call it Hee Haw. And I said, he what?
Because you are a party hippie.
Yes.
I mean,
I
just
was-
loose as a
I
goose,
was
having
an
a
acid
ball.
head, honey. I was eating LSD and smoking marijuana, and I was out there, y'all. I was.
So she wasn't even close to what country music
No, I
or
had no
gospel
idea
or
what
anything
country or
like that.
gospel
You
any
were
of it
in
was,
the
no.
heavy
I
hippie
was in the
city
heavy,
scene.
yes, I was. I certainly was. All I did was I stayed loaded, is
Yeah.
what we called it back then. I stayed high 24 hours a day. I was at a place in my life where the best thing for me to do was just to get as high as I could get to get away from the ugliness of reality.
Because you didn't feel.
And that was, yeah, and that was people saying you're fat and you're ugly and no one will ever love you. And to lead that list was my grandmother. So this is what I just lived with and what I believed. And so it was all I could do just to make it, you know, every day. And all I wanted to do was just to say hi so I didn't feel anything, you know.
And that's why I think you have such a compassion for addicts or for people that have struggles.
I do.
And so often the church is quick to say, you're doing this, you're doing this. But the reason people swallow themselves in drugs or food
That's right.
or
That's
sex
right.
or shopping or exercise or Facebook
I did it all,
or
yeah,
whatever,
I did.
it's because they can't deal with their reality. So before you cast
right.
a stone, remember this lady's story. So you get the call from Hee Haw.
Yeah, yeah. Buck calls and said they've started this thing called Hee Haw, and they want you to come up here and be the Goldie Hawn character. I said, excuse me? I said, isn't she that skinny blonde-headed girl on Laughing? He said, Lou, they want you to be the funny girl. I said, all righty. So the next thing I knew, I was on a plane to California, and they, excuse me, took me to CBS television studios. The first person I saw, y'all, was Carol Burnett. She's about that big around.
Wow.
And all I could say was,
Wow. Yeah.
and as a matter of fact, the first thing she said to me was, shut your mouth, child. You're fixing to be one of us. To which I replied. But I was just, I couldn't believe it. They stood me up in front of a television camera, and they held up a cue card. And they said, read this. And I read it and made some kind of silly little face or something. And I heard one of them say, wow, she's incredible. And I said, wow, give me your money and watch me get better. So the next thing I knew, they put me on a plane, flew me back to Dallas. And in a week's time, they called and said, be in Nashville.
And Hee Haw happened that quickly.
It did.
So you found yourself, where did Hee Haw tape? Was it in Nashville?
In Nashville, yeah.
So you relocated.
No, I drove from Dallas to Nashville for about the first,
Did you?
oh goodness, 15 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you stayed in
Then
Texas.
eventually I moved. Well, the year they stopped actually making Hee Haw, I moved to Nashville.
Go figure.
And I've been there ever since.
So Hee Haw,
Yep.
I guess, you know, when you're living something, you have no idea the impact that that it's
You really
making.
don't.
That you were a part of history, really,
Uh-huh.
and you were having fun.
I was.
But you
I was
were,
having more fun than I'd ever had in my life,
Yeah.
Joe.
and you were a part of a community, but you still had some struggles
Yes,
with
I did.
with drugs, right?
I did. But I was deep enough into it. By then, it wasn't just taking pills or smoking marijuana. By then, I was sticking needles in my arms. And I got to the place that if I went here, I'd blow veins. If I went there, I'd blow veins. I went in the top of my hands and blew veins, and even went in the back of my legs.
Did the folks at Hee Haw know it?
No.
No. So you were able to keep functioning, and you made enough money to buy your drugs, right?
I did.
Were the drugs all over the scene, you know, in the show and stuff?
If they were, I did not know it because I kept to myself.
Yeah.
I did not associate with anybody else. I did not want them knowing what I was doing.
So you still kept a wall up a distance,
Yeah, I
you
did.
know, from folks.
I did. I still fight with it. I do.
Right.
I
Yeah.
still fight with it today. Sometimes I do.
During Hee Haw and the success, you had some run-ins that were pretty significant,
Oh,
and
yes.
caused you to lose that.
I did. I did. They never said, "You're fired." They just, Sam Lavello was the executive producer, and he was like my papa. He was like everybody's papa. But what he did was he just kind of eased me out for a little bit in the middle of all those things. And I went through all the court system and went, you know, what I did was I got busted twice for possession of dangerous drugs. And they told me they were going to put me under the jail. And I said, "No, you're not." And they said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I'm too big." Ha ha, they didn't think it was very funny. But there was no place to send me where anybody could watch me because
Yeah.
I had no family. So they gave custody of me to Sam Lavello, who was
Which
the
is
executive
unheard of.
producer of Hee Haw. I've never heard of it, never ever of anything.
You
like
think
that.
about that. I mean, and think about how much he thought of you
Yeah.
to take on that
Yeah,
responsibility.
He did.
I mean, that was an act of just
He was
love.
the executive producer of Hee Haw.
And during that time, you got some help.
I did. Well, I got into so much trouble that I went to jail, and they were talking about penitentiary, you know, and I had lots of things to go through in the court system. And in the middle of all this, I came out from one of the hearings that they had, and I was going to get in the elevator, and I saw one of those kids that I grew up with in that orphan's home. My first reaction was to turn and run.
Yeah.
But she got me. She screamed, "Louise!" And to which I was like, "Huh?" Her name was Diane. And you have to get the book now to read about this because this is precious.
And keep in mind, we're talking about Lulu's book. This is my
Yeah.
story. This is my song. All this stuff, starting with the orphanage all the way to today, is on the book. If you
in
are
the book.
watching or listening, you want to get a copy of this, we do have some tonight. They're $20. Lulu can love to autograph it for you after the show. But if you're online or whatever, you want to get a copy, it's luluromanbook.com, right? So jail time.
And there's lots of pictures in there.
Lots
though.
of great pictures. I
Yeah.
flipped through lots of Hee Haw pictures, lots of family
Yeah.
pictures. And speaking of family, okay, because, you know, folks may not know, but during these years, you had children.
Two.
And this is tough, and you may not know it. And I'm sure going through getting this book and all that makes it more real. But you've had to bury a child, which no one should have to do. And that's in here. And
That's the hardest thing that'll ever happen to you, is to lose a child.
in prison in the time of trying to get help, trying to get clean? What's happened during this time?
Oh, I never went to prison. I didn't. I went to jail.
Or jail, I'm
for-
sorry, I say
yeah.
the same thing.
I
Sorry.
went to jail for a couple of times, for several weeks at a time. But I ran into one of those kids that I grew up with in the orphan's home, and she said, "Lou, I have met him." And I said, "Good for you." And I said, "Who have you met?" And she said, "I've met Jesus." And I said, "Whoopee," because this orphan's home that we grew up in was a, quote, religious organization. And we had that good old religion for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, for parties, for snacks, and I thought, I don't want to hear it. But she stayed with me. She showed me the love of Jesus in a way that nobody had ever done. Not only did she love me and love my soul and love my spirit, but I had my oldest son, Damon, was 6 months old at that time. And she showed up on my doorstep one night with 100 jars of baby food. And that impressed me so much. No one had ever done anything for me, because generally if they came at me, they wanted me to do something for them. So I was...
To make sure, you had been preached at and taught about Jesus in church, but it was very harsh.
Yes, it was.
It was judgmental. It was,
It was
condemnation.
extremely judgmental, yes.
So
it was.
these people that were Christians, this is the first time in your 20 years of life
Yes.
that someone showed you Jesus.
That someone really showed me the love of Jesus.
Because when someone just does it, yelling at you or hitting you or abusing you in the name of Jesus, you want nothing to do with it.
No, you don't.
So this friend comes to you and shows you Jesus.
She really did. She did. And then she invited me to go to her church, and I said, no way. And so she didn't, she didn't harp on me or, but she just continued to show the
love you.
love of Jesus. She did. And never asked for anything in return. That shocked me. It did. I kept waiting for that hammer to fall.
When's it coming?
And it never did. It didn't. And finally, when, I was having a hard time, I was still going through the court systems. I was having to go downtown and go through trials. And I was going through a lot of stuff. And she got me at a week time, which was God's perfect timing, and said, just go with me. Just go over here with me one time. So I thought, well, I'll go over there with her, and then she'll shut up about it and leave me alone. So I went over to her church with her in Dallas, Texas. It was called Beverly Hills Baptist Church. And it was a spirit-filled Baptist church in 1973.
Which is unheard of.
Oh, definitely unheard of. I thought they were all eating acid, y'all.
Yeah.
It's been so funny to her. But long story short, I went with her about 2 weeks, and then I was sitting way off. I stayed in the back, on the back row, And one Sunday night, we were sitting there, and that pastor was 6'4". He had silver hair, and was a very handsome man, well kept, and he started down that aisle, and I just froze, I thought, oh, dear God, that man's coming after me. And guess what? He was. He walked right into where I was and slid into the pews and took hold of both of my hands and said, could I introduce you to my church? And I said, no! But the next thing I know, I was just trotting along beside him, going down there. And he introduced me, and all of a sudden, there were people just all around me. Everyone was touching me and, saying, we love you and God bless you and we're praying for you. I was mortified. I'm not used to, I was not used to having people touch me in any way other than in an abusive way.
Right.
And so when they started touching me, it
Triggered you.
Yes, it
Sure.
did. It did. And ended up, long story, it's hard for me. You have to get this book to read a
Yeah.
lot of this, y'all, because I'm trying to get from one place to another. I ended up at pastor's office on my knees, and we just prayed a simple little sinner's prayer. And on April the 11th of 1973 at 10:30 in the evening, on my knees, I gave my heart to Jesus. And thank you. And he gave his heart to me. And boy, I'll tell you what, that'll change your life. It will. It will definitely change your life. I had no idea what I was going to do with myself. I didn't. I was afraid that every time I opened my mouth, something was going to roll out of there that shouldn't. Because generally before it did.
Right.
But the Lord just took that away. The next morning I got up. My little baby was 6 months old. I want to clean him up, going to clean up the house, going to try to, straighten my life up. And as I was busy doing all this stuff, it suddenly occurred to me that I had not had a hit of any of the drugs since the day before. And I panicked, and I called my friend, and I said, you better come over here and sit with me, because I'm going to have to go through withdrawals, and this is not going to be pretty. And she knew it because she had done it herself. And so she came, and she sat with me, and we drank some iced tea and played some cards and cleaned up the house, and, we just sit and waited, and just waited, and I'm happy to tell you it's been, goodness sakes, 46 years, and we're still waiting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
I never got sick. I never was uncomfortable for 1 second. God just took it away, just took the drugs away. I never had a taste for it again, God just literally took it away. He did.
Folks, this is J.P. Miller on the Smoky Mountain Gospel Jubilee, talking with LuLu Roman. You all remember her from her days on Hee Haw. Since then, LuLu has traveled the world sharing her stories, her life, her experiences about Jesus and how he changed her life. She's got a book out, This Is My Story, This Is My Song, talking about growing up at the orphanage, how she did Hee Haw, then life after Hee Haw. There's so much to tell. I mean, we could sit here for hours, and we've got to wrap up because I need her to sing a little bit. But the book is available, and it's $20. Is that right? And you can autograph them.
Yep.
There are so many photos in here, so many from when you were a child. I guess you got them from the orphanage. Pictures. I think the youngest one was
I think I was about a year old.
a year old here, and these came from the orphanage, right?
They came from after my grandmother passed away.
Yeah.
I found these.
So she found those.
Yeah.
The stories in this, it's full of stories, and full of inspiration. I know if you know someone that was adopted in foster care, someone that struggled with drugs, someone struggled with addiction, someone interested in show business, someone interested in country music, gospel music, the book can have so many avenues, for people to find interest in it. But there's lots of really cool pictures, some bouffant hairdos, and some sassy pictures of when you were a hippie.
Hippie pictures.
You were high as a kite in that one right there. And then this one, look at this one with your strip outfit on, modeling my breakaway striptease outfit. Woo, woo. Now that is nice. So there's you and some dude. Who is that? Partying with Ronnie Hodges. I mean,
Yeah.
she's all over here, folks. Great pictures. Then, of course, Hee Haw pictures. You went through the big weight loss thing. So much information is in this book, and it's just about inspiration and how Jesus was in it all. It was not an easy life. There's Roy Acuff. so many of the scenes from Hee Haw. Something I love that you do is you have pictures over there on your product table, the famous scenes from Hee Haw that she was in. We've got those available. Barbara Mandrell, Grandpa Jones, all those are in the book, and it's a pretty thick book. And then it goes to today. Lots of pictures, and then it goes to today with all the famous country singers and gospel singers and what you're doing. The book is available here tonight if you want to get one. They're $20. Take credit cards, right?
Yeah.
Cash or credit cards. If you're listening or watching and want to get one, just go to LuLuRomanBook.com. Lulu also has some CDs out. She's got music, and she started singing gospel. Before we end on the conversation and go to singing, you came to Hee Haw after you got saved, and you said, I want to sing. I want to come back and sing, but I want to sing gospel.
Yes.
And that had not been done before, right?
No,
Tell me about that.
I'm the one that brought gospel
That's right.
music to Hee Haw. I am.
Isn't that
They
cool?
said, yay!
And you kind of said, I'll do it if I can sing
That's
gospel.
what I said. I'll come back for you, but you have to let me sing my music. And so the producer said, well, he called me back and said, the executive producer said, well, it's okay. You can sing that music, but they don't want you to say that name. Now, I knew what I was talking about, y'all. I said, what name?
Mm-hmm.
I had to hear them say, that Jesus name. And I said, well, listen, honey, here's the deal. I have a truckload of songs that say Lord and Savior. That be all right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they decided they would pick the first song that I sang on Hee Haw.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine what it was?
What?
Blessed Assurance,
Wow.
Jesus is mine.
How funny. We're so thankful LuLu Roman is here with us tonight. She's got another couple songs for us. Would you make her welcome, folks, to the Smoky Mountain Gospel Jubilee, Miss LuLu Roman. How about it?
Thank you.
And in sandals, send him down my way, 'cause he might be my master. He's coming back someday. If you see a man in white that's like no one you've seen before, won't you let me know? 'Cause that's the man I'm looking for. And if you can remember, ask him what's his name. And if he tells you Jesus, just say, we're so glad you came. Tell him you know someone who still calls him Lord. Then send him on to me, 'cause that's the man I'm looking for. If you see a man that shines with a love glow on his face, hey, turn him down my street so he can find my place. And if his hands are scarred, no, please don't shut your door. You just send him on to me, 'cause that's the man I'm looking for. And if you can remember, ask him what's his name. And if he tells you Jesus, just say, We're so glad you came. Tell him you know someone who still calls him Lord. Then send him on to me, 'cause that's the man I'm looking for. If you see a man called Jesus, well, that's the man I'm looking for. Thank you. Okay, we're going to try this. I don't think that you're going to have any problems, but let's work on me. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine. Salvation, purchase of God. I'm born of His Spirit, washed in His blood. And this is my story. This is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story. This is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, all is at rest. I in my Savior, oh, I'm happy and blessed, watching